some of her friends. Well, let's get some more on this attack in Istanbul. I'm joined by Michael Daventry, a London-based freelance Turkish journalist. Michael, good of you to join us. This attack happened on New Year's Eve after a string of other attacks, and the security services were on high alert. All of these facts must be very worrying for President Erdogan.
Absolutely. Those are very worrying, but what's happened before is equally worrying because, I mean, by my count, there have been dozens of attacks in the last 18 months and around 500 people have died in them. So that's a person every day, a civilian, a police officer, a military person. So Turkey has a massive security problem, and the last 18 months have shown that despite many attacks that have been thwarted, there are dozens that have gotten through and have claimed many, many lives.
When these attacks happened, and 2016 was a horrific year for the country, what do people talk about in the bars and cafes across the country? Do they talk about the military operation in Syria? Do they oppose it? Are they in support of it?
Well, the mood is generally miserable because it's not just about the so-called Islamic State group. You've got Kurdish militant attacks, and if you listen to the Turkish government's line, you've also got a notorious cleric based in Pennsylvania who's running a clandestine network of people that the government is trying to fight. The effect on ordinary people in Turkey is just one of general grim trying to carry on with life, and that's led to all sorts of things like self-censorship. People don't want to talk out loud in pubs and bars and, you know, in cafes for fear of being overheard. People are just worried about their jobs and their livelihoods. It's not a very happy place at the moment, is Turkey.
And has that mood of not being able to, or not perceived not to be able to speak about these type of issues, been exacerbated by the failed coup attempt?
Absolutely. The coup attempt was a point when there was already some creeping authoritarianism going. But immediately after the coup, the government declared a state of emergency, which was extended 3 months ago, and it seems likely to be extended once again. And under the powers granted through that, they've sacked tens of thousands of people, imprisoned many others as well, including journalists. Journalists have lost their jobs. I lost a contract with a Turkish news agency because of it. Others are in prison, others are in exile. This general feeling of people being put out of being able to ask awkward questions is making things very difficult for people in Turkey.
And are the public able to determine the difference between Islamic State militants and the Kurdish militants? Because the government often puts them both in the same basket as terrorist organisations, don't they?
The problem is that everybody now who is against the government is a terrorist in so many ways, and there's a huge amount of personal attacks going on. So yes, you're right, ordinary people do struggle to distinguish, and the effect of it is to close people in and simply to not really want to talk about current affairs and really hope that it can pass. The problem is that it's just so grim at the moment that people can't really see a way out of it.
Michael, thank you very much. That's Michael Daventry, a London-based freelance Turkish journalist. Very interesting discussion.